Hey everyone, it's Lucas here. I am a strength and conditioning coach, and my business is Strength, Move, Perform. And this is a little bit of information about my youth long-term athletic development sessions. Just to start, going through high school, I wouldn't say I was athletic. I was engaged in sports. I done trampolining. I played football. I played football with my mates. I just about made it to play for the school team, because coaches were telling me not good enough. If you see me, I was the most uncoordinated um player on the team, and I was only doing it because I loved playing with my mates. But throughout high school, I was playing football, in PE, I was doing badminton. I loved swimming, a great swimmer, and I love trampolining as well. And I basically, from doing these, I got a wide range of skills. And I even had some coaches that would try to push me out of sports, and some that really give me the tools to encourage me, motivate me to go on to be physically active and engage in sports. As I went on to university, from high school, I was the coach for the men's football team, which was one of the best experiences of my life. I'm a better coach than I am a player. So if you ever need me for a football team, do not call me up. But if you need sessions to get stronger, fitter, and faster, I'm the man. Um, Anyway, so basically, from this experience through high school, university, and being engaged in the gym and strength and conditioning, it's led me to go on to do some fantastic things, such as trail half marathons, marathons, high roxes, battle cancer games, Athex games, and I don't think I would have been able to do all of this if I didn't, one, have the movement competency, and the confidence to be able to go on to do these. This is just a little bit of the contents about what I am going to share. So I'm going to share with you where I've learned a lot of this information about youth long-term athletic development from and why I'm passionate about it. Um, what my kind of mission and my philosophy is for coaching youth. We're going to look at peak height velocity, which I'll explain further. uh, why it's important to consider this, such as growth rates and growth related injuries. I'm going to show you some case studies of youths that I've worked with, and how we kind of monitor this. Considerations for load management. Um, and yeah, so that's what we're going to touch on. So, where have I learned all this information from? So, I've really committed myself, obviously financially, but I've committed myself educational wise to go to events such as the Long Term Athletic Development Network. I've been involved in mentorships where I have got to watch the best of the best practitioners and sports scientists in youth long term athletic development speaking. Um, so I've committed myself to that. Last year, I went to Bilbao for a conference, where two, I would say, probably world's leading sport and exercise scientists in youth long-term athletic development were um, presenting information, and it was honestly one of the best experiences that I've had. I also listened to a lot of podcasts again, um, uh, from again leading sport and exercise scientists within the field of youth long-term athletic development. And a lot of the stuff I've done as well, or kind of what I kind of coach and the content of my sessions is based off these books. So the athletic skills model, strength and conditioning for young athletes, and then the essentials of strength and conditioning. And I touched on mentorship. So on the left here was the first mentorship that was part of last year. The guy on the left holding that award, that's Rob Anderson. He was voted as the youth strength and conditioning coach of the year. He was my mentor on Collaborate Sports, long-term athletic development mentorship. And Dan Howells is the guy that leads all that. And I'm currently in another mentorship as well. Um, you're probably thinking, Lucas, you've gone to university, you've got a master's degree in strength and conditioning. Why are you doing this? For me, I see an opportunity just to continue learning, but also as well, I get to network with lots of amazing strength and conditioning coaches. And so that is a massive part for me, being able to commit myself um, and be a bit vulnerable in situations, but also just keep learning. Before we go any further, if you're a parent watching this, I want you to think about that is, if you drive, I want you to think about when you were learning to drive. Okay. When I think about when I was learning to drive, I wanted to be on the road straight away. Did I know how to drive a car? No, I didn't have a clue. So I had to invest in a driving instructor for about a year to 18 months to learn how to drive. And off the back of that, I passed my driving test. So I want you to think about what I'm saying here because I'm going to come back and revisit this. So, my kind of mission and my philosophy for strength and conditioning with youths is I want to coach and enable youth to demonstrate a high standard of physical literacy, which will keep them engaged in physical activity for the rest of their life. If I break that down further, what does that mean? With your investment in your child's strength and conditioning and physical activity, what I want to do is give them the tools and give them a breadth of movement skills that is going to either develop their performance for sports or just keep them engaged in physical activity. I think that with the way that society is set up for youths nowadays, there's a lot of pressures and there's a lot of barriers to exercise and activity. So, really, what I want to do is set youths up for the best possibilities of physical literacy and physical engagement. Because if I look at myself, um, the amount of time that I've been engaged in physical activity, whether it's playing badminton, swimming, playing casual football with my mates, training for a marathon, a half marathon, a high rocks, whatever. If I hadn't had got that in my developmental years, I would not be standing here right now saying that. And I think I've got to give massive credit to my coaches who, um, who supported me and gave me the skills to uh, kind of perform confidently and competently. And I got to give credit to the coaches as well that ripped me off and said that I wouldn't do sports or all that. So if you're watching that, see ya. Anyway, moving on. So from the strength and conditioning for young athletes, there are some quotes that I pulled out of the book that just stick with me. I think they're absolutely amazing. The first one is just like the skills of reading and writing, resistance training is a learned behavior. 100%. You do not just pick up, you don't just walk into a gym and you do a body weight back squat. Okay, let's say for example you weigh 70 kilos or 60 kilos, whatever. You don't just walk into a gym, put a barbell on your back and do it perfectly. Okay. Uh, Resistance training is a learned behavior. Okay, you have to repeat, repeat, and do it again and again and again. Just exactly like when I was learning to drive and when you were learning to drive, you had to repeat the skills every single week. You had to go back. You had to have good lessons, you had to have bad ones. It's the same with resistance training. You're going to have some good sessions, you're going to have some not so good sessions, you're going to have some average sessions, but you have to keep repeating, repeating, and repeating. Another one is adolescent athletes who regularly participate in resistance training, in addition to sports training, made greater gains in maximal strength and sprinting performance than their teammates who only participate in sports training. Okay. If you play a sport and you train in the gym, you have got one up on the next person in your team. Okay. And last one, the importance of enhancing physical attributes of young athletes is to sustain participation and maximize athletic performance is foundational for long-term athletic success. Couldn't have said that any better myself. Now, the word athlete might be getting thrown around here, okay? And I think for some people, it's quite intimidating. It's quite an intimidating word. Um, but you can be an athlete who just runs. You can be, um, for example, one of my friends from university, he's got a business. It's called the 9 to 5 Athlete. It does exactly what it says. It's for average people, I would say above average people who want to train like an athlete to either um run an event or work towards a goal. So these are a couple of quotes from the book which are huge, and this is exactly what I want to project to parents and youths. So I love to think about kind of my philosophy as a pyramid or a triangle. At the bottom, we have got the base. Okay, these are like foundational skills such as hopping, skipping, jumping, landing, crawling, rolling, throwing, catching, hip hinge, squat, push, pull, change of direction, lunging, bracing, wrestling, accelerating, decelerating, bridging. Okay, you can see that because there is a lot of movement skills and competences there, the base is wide, which means that the peak is going to be very tall. I just want you to imagine for a moment that you have only got two of those skills. Okay, the base might be that wide and the peak's that tall. Versus if you got loads of skills, that peak's gonna be really tall. Okay, so you got the foundational stuff there. In the middle, you've got the very important stuff that's probably not actually considered by a lot of coaches. Sleep hygiene, nutrition, hydration, load management, understanding growth and maturation, social skills, and the big one, following and understanding instruction. If your child cannot follow and understand instruction, then I'm sorry, but we are not compatible to work with each other. Um, a massive part of my coaching is explaining an instruction, demonstrating an instruction, and if you're able to take those skills and perform and do what I'm coaching you to do, then we'll get along fantastically. Then at the top, you have got competing and engaging in physical activity for life. If we can nail the foundational and the middle stuff, the top parts take care of themselves. So, peak height velocity, what is this? It is a period of accelerated growth caused by hormonal changes in the body. Okay. In males, it's testosterone and growth hormone. In females, it is estrogen. Commonly, this is just referred to as a growth spurt. There's a graph here, and basically, what this shows is that females are, on average, more likely to hit their growth spurt earlier than males. Um, this has a plus or minus of year, like 12 months, like plus or minus. So for females, they can be expected to hit their growth spurt around maybe 10 and a half, 11, up to kind of 13, 13 and a half, something like that. For boys, again, this could be around about 12 to the latest kind of being like 15, 15 and a half. And these are all really important things to consider. If you're a parent and you've got a kid who is 11, 12, 13, 14, next time you're at a game, right, you're when you're at training, look at the sizes of all the different kids that are playing. Okay. This is totally individual. There's not going to be anyone who's got the exact same um kind of growth qualities unless you're twins, obviously, as the next person. How do we measure it? So we used standing height and weight of the kids. We used height of parents, their date of birth, the kids' date of birth, and the date of measurement, and obviously the gender as well. So what does this mean? So males and females, this is the kind of growth rate that you're expected to see on average for both genders. And this is a study that was done from some researchers at Atletico Bilbao. And basically, what they've done is they had academy players who had been with them from when they started the academy up to first team or under 21s. And they basically tracked their growth for about, I think it was like 18 to 20 seasons. So they had so much data available to them. And along the bottom, you'll see pre-PHV, circa PHV, and post-PHV. So there's some percentages there. Circa PHV is like kind of around peak height velocity. So this 88 to 95% number, that is the period where you're going to see accelerated growth. And depending on the growth rates of different individuals, this is going to come with some growth-related injuries, which is super normal. However, what this means is that, again, this is very individual, is that someone who's growing 4 centimeters a year might not have the same kind of growth-related injuries as someone who's growing 8 centimeters a year. So again, these are really important things to consider. I've got some case studies here of people that I've worked with. So you will see the instantly you'll see this like black figure in the middle. Okay, I'll explain that in a minute. But you'll see I've got the date of birth, the date that the data was collected, and it spits out this graph here. Now, if you look at the second table, you'll see that, or well, if yeah, if you look at the second table, you'll see the age here. Um, they are 12 years old. And then if you go on to the next one where it says those kind of that red zone there, which says PAH percentage, maturity status, you'll see that this athlete, this child athlete, um, is currently going through their growth spurt, 91.8%. What is really interesting here is biological age. This 12-year-old has got the biological age of a 14-year-old. If you've seen this, this lad, right, he is about the height of me. I am about like 5'10", 5'11". He's literally the height of me. And his predicted adult height, just off this one measurement, is going to be 186 centimeters, which is insane. So he's going to be growing another 16 centimeters. And he'll keep growing until he is 22, 23, 24. So these are all important things to consider. This is a female version. She was a swimmer, and the thing you see here is I got more data points, and with more data points, I get more accurate information. So off that one, you see that that middle graph is not populated versus when I've got this one populated here. So you'll see that when I started working with this individual, they were coming to the end of their coming to the end of their growth spurt. Um, if I go into this, and this is another one. This is another example of a male. So across almost a year, they've grown 7 centimeters. And what was really interesting about this individual was during this whole period of this year, they were kind of mentioning about sore knees, sore ankles, which, if we go back to here, this correlates totally with it. You've got things like Osgood Slatters and severs, growth-related injuries in the knees and the ankles. So having this data and having subjective data from the individual, we can work together as a team to make sure that your child is one having safe exposure to sports whilst they're growing, but also just understanding the changes that are going through their body as well. This is another example of a female. She is 9 years old and she is pre-peak height velocity here. So this is how we measure it. What I also do as well is we have got access to some fantastic bits of kit at the gym. Um, and what we do is kind of performance monitoring. We do counter movement jump, which measures lower body power. And we can track these changes across growth, but we can also see what the improvements are in performance. And these are some of my best examples of people I have worked with for their lower body power. Um, Isometric mid-thigh pull, this is a strength test. Um, Again, it's a really interesting measure to see how strong is this individual getting across a time period. And the last one is a 10-meter sprint. So got power, strength, and speed, which are three really important things for not only sports performance, but just life in general. If you're stronger, you've got more power to produce. And if you've got more power to produce, you're going to jump higher, jump further, and sprint faster as well. So another thing that I'll get you to consider is managing your weekly training load, right? This is, before I say this, right, I think it's absolutely fantastic that youths are engaged in sports. I done about 4 or 5 sports a week during high school, during my teenage years. However, the recovery is just as important as the performance. And I've worked with people who have, see what I'll go on here. So I use this as a traffic light scheme. Okay, red high intensity, medium is yellow is medium intensity, and green's like a low intensity. So if you think about your red days as competition, matches, all these moments where you're expected to perform maximally, those are your red days. Green days might be something if you've got a casual PE lesson that's quite average, whatever, and yellow, medium intensity, it might just be like a training day. What I commonly see in youths is that Saturday, Sunday are the red days. So my recommendations would to be to prioritize Monday as a day where there is kind of no intense activity or something that's really light. Um, why should we consider this load management for youth athletes? So this is general adaptation syndrome theory, and basically it's the idea of that when you apply a stress to the body has an opportunity to recover and it super compensates with an adaptation. The opposite of that is if you don't give that opportunity to rest and recover, you just don't make any adaptations at all, and you experience things like overtraining, which has implications for increased injury risk, risks like emotional well-being, and just not being able to get better at your sport. So these are all really important things that I'll get you to consider. Lastly, right, so something that I spoke about a lot in strength conditioning space is early specialization. And what this is, the sports that is really common in is like individual sports. Okay. And basically, when you just keep it's like individual sports and team sports. Okay. So if you just play one single sport and you do that 4 days a week for 5 to 10 years. Okay, you're just repeating the same movements, the same movement patterns. That's going to lead to an overuse injury, which is going to likely be a burden to yourself, but also to your team as well, because you're missing out on training and games. In the long term, what then happens? You end up dropping out of sport. A classic example I had this year was with a swimmer. This swimmer swam 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday. And on a Sunday, they done a run. And I was speaking, I spoke to the parents loads. I was like, I don't think they should be doing this much training. And then, no, 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 it's fine. They're enjoying it. I was like, okay, blah, blah, blah. Um, One day they came to my session and said, I'm not doing swimming anymore. I'm fed up of it. I don't enjoy it. This is exactly what can happen if you focus specifically on one sport. What is a way to get around this? By having a breadth of skills. Okay, whether that's sports, whether it's different movements. So, for example, if you're a footballer, I would encourage you to do a hand-eye coordination sport like badminton, tennis, paddle, something individual such as swimming or judo, kickboxing, something like that. The more skills you can sample, you are going to be a better athlete and a better mover. Okay. Um, so things to consider. That is that for me, right? I want you to rethink about that learning to drive analogy. Okay. And I want you to think about it in the context of physical activity and having the skills to be a competent farmer in your sports or just in any sports and in the gym. Have a think about everything I've said. If you are interested in working with me, please drop me a message on Instagram at Strength Move Perform. If you are around the gym at Underground Training Station, come and have a chat with me, and we can start to have a bit more of an in-depth chat about how I can support your youth athlete. Thanks for watching, and hopefully hear from you soon.